So we just did the shootout. What did you guys think?
It was fun.
I had a blast.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
I sat in the trailer.
Yeah. So we got Bo. He was
Bo
the
was like
wizard.
the brain behind the whole thing.
He did all the math. Just do a quick description of how you came up with the numbers and what we did.
Yeah, so we just used a basic Excel spreadsheet, average numbers over all the drivers, came to a conclusion. We tried to base it off of a 100-point scale. That way it was easy for the end user to look at and grade. And we gave everyone a score of an A, B, C, or D, or an F in one of the cases. But all the scores were out of 100. So,
Yeah.
And then you pulled the stats
Yep.
online, right? Of each car, like clearance and horsepower.
We didn't go over clearance. We just did dyno numbers,
yep.
right?
So we did dyno testing numbers, we did industry averages, as well as the numbers that we've been able to test on the cars. We looked at price, obviously, as a great equalizer, and then we did testing for braking, distance, as well as drag placement. So those were our quantitative numbers to try to alleviate some of biases that may pop up.
Quantitative numbers.
Yeah, quantitative numbers to alleviate some of the biases that happen in subjective analysis. So that's what we did.
It worked out good. One thing that I was pretty surprised about is you said you were doing the math, Bo, and quantitative stuff and then the subjective stuff ended up actually being very even across the board, which I was really surprised. I figured there was going to be enough biasy, like, you know, he loves his car and he loves his car, and I know he hates a Can-Am. That's just flat out true. And so I just figured there was going to be a lot more flex in there, but it ended up matching up pretty well.
Yeah, the only huge difference as far as ranking went was the X3. Because of the power delivery on the X3 on the quantitative testing, that did boost it just a little bit in the final scoring. But other than that, basically the way people felt about cars was pretty much in line with what the numbers actually said.
It's funny because I don't want to talk down on the RC that was there, but it looked a little haggard,
She was a little haggard. I think she was a little.
And then people
rough.
got in it, they're like, "What the heck, dude? This thing is fast."
Yeah, it was fast. It still had the power, but
Yeah.
I think his springs are just a little shot. So
Yeah.
I think he got a little bit worse review in that. We got a little worse review in that X3 because
It's a little worn.
It's a little bit more worn. And same with that Turbo R. She has jumped off of a cliff at one point, and
Wow, just calling them out.
and I think the springs were just a little clapped. Can you not agree?
Well, I think that
it's his
She was soft. She was
Yeah.
soft. That's what I'm saying.
Right, yeah,
It was a much
definitely.
softer suspension than the Pro R2 and the Pro R4,
Yeah, for
which I feel like that's kind of what it got a little bit worse rating because of that. It should have had the same quality of suspension.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we saw that. I mean, I threw my keys. I had my Can-Am out there. We threw the keys to a few people, and they took my car around, which has just had some updates to it, and they kind of all said, "Man, that just made the world of difference." Sitting
Yeah.
up,
But at the same time,
and you
it's
don't
not-
even have new springs yet.
I do have new
Yeah,
springs.
he
Oh,
does.
you do have new springs.
He's got
Oh, okay.
super ATV all around it. He's got
Nice.
aftermarket, as far as like a tune and
Yeah.
clutching and all of that stuff, and then he's got the shocks. So that's why we didn't put Bo's
Correct.
car in it. I mean, there was a handful of cars we wanted to put in it. Some people were like, "Hey, I want to put my car in it," but we're trying to get stock. The only problem about getting stock is not everybody has a brand new stock car that only has 100 miles on it. So it's a little bit of unfairness there, a little bit, but it is what it is. It's hard to find stock cars nowadays. Everybody's got too much money.
Yeah.
Like everybody's car is not stock.
That was the biggest challenge. That's why it was all new. I haven't driven several of those cars. I haven't driven the Turbo R. I haven't driven the YXZ. I've never driven a Turbo S.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the 110 is a good number for the specific spot,
Yes.
but I don't think going a little longer is going to hurt a darn thing.
Mm-mm.
I think if you have 117 inches, cool. It's gonna rip.
Yeah.
What did you think about driving from the Turbo R to the Pro R? Because you got a little bit more wheelbase, but essentially the same suspension.
Well, I hate the two-seaters. The two-seaters freak me out. As I'm turning, especially on the track, I feel like I'm going to tip over, and it freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah.
So I like the four-seater for sure, and I thought it was just because I have the Turbo R and not the Pro R, or not the whatever. Anyway, what I have. But I think that I love the power of the Pro R. I would switch to a Pro R in a heartbeat. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
How should I feel about this? Because we talk about this a lot.
You rated your own car pretty low.
Yes.
You were probably the only honest guy about his car because you're like, dude, I just want a Pro R.
We can honey, look at the comparisons. I need to change.
So let's go over the numbers real quick in the categories. And spoiler alert, we're going over 7 cars. If you've seen our first video, there was 8 cars in there. We are no longer going to be talking about speed in our opinion. If you want to talk about speed, just go talk to Speed themselves. They would rather you talk to them and not us. Because we're just a bunch of enthusiasts. We don't really know jack.
Yeah, we're not qualified to talk about the speed, and we don't have any Baja 1000 races under our belt. So you need to talk to Speed if you want to talk about the speed.
Yeah. So let's go over the list of the 7 cars because we're gonna go over the 7 cars.
So the list of the 7 cars: Can-Am, Maverick R.
So Maverick R won it in what category?
So power. We'll do power first. I apologize.
Alright, so Maverick R, I've already seen this. Maverick R destroys it when it comes to power. The drag race, that was insane.
Yeah.
I was shocked to see that.
And that's where you go, you know, everybody feels it, and then you got to prove it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So we did a dyno results.
So dyno was 211 to the wheels on the dyno that we tested. There's not really any other industry averages out there yet. We're one of the first ones to do that with LaRue. Thank you very much, LaRue, for helping us out there. They're number 10. They're the best out there. The drag race, it finished first, and then linear power, it scored a 9.14. So,
And one thing I would love to talk about as far as the Maverick R goes, because a lot of people are like, why should I buy a Maverick R over a Pro R? A lot of people are trying to decide if they want to do that. I think the reason this thing just destroys it, the Maverick R, in these categories, has the horsepower, but also when it comes to linear, when you are going from drive modes, it is a much bigger distance in drive modes than it is with the Pro R. Pro R, you go from normal to race mode. There's a little bit of different throttle response, but not like remarkable, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you put this thing in normal mode, and it handles pretty easy. It's easy to drive. But you put it in fast mode, okay, I'm gonna win a drag race.
It's a hot rod in every mode.
Yeah.
It really is.
I mean, it's pretty quick in normal mode, but it's easy to drive in normal.
Yes.
That's the big thing.
Can we talk about the clutch though?
Yeah, go for it.
I found that uncomfortable. Maybe I'm a novice, and so
Yeah.
I felt like it was weird. It was really weird hearing that thing
I'm still
shift
getting
up
used
and
to it.
down.
Uh-huh.
It kicked in at different times where I wasn't quite expecting it. Maybe I just need some more experience with it. But I don't know. You've driven a lot more. So.
I haven't driven an insane amount yet, so I'm still not even comfortable with it. So I can't really say yet. We'll keep driving this thing, get some more miles under my belt to really figure out how much I do or don't love this car. We really don't know right now. I don't really want to give 100% opinion there because my opinion's probably going to change in a month.
Yeah.
Right now, my opinion is it's like wrestling a bull, and it's pretty difficult to drive.
It's got a lot of.
So with the X3 is number 2, and I mean I think that's just a given. And it comes to power, the Can-Ams win the Power Wars. So Can-Am gets second again in the Power Wars.
So 97 on the Maverick R, and 87 to the X3, and then you're at an 82. So interestingly enough, the Pro Rs both tied. Not surprisingly, but they're tied.
Yeah.
So they're 3 tied up. So
Okay.
yep.
Those cars are very close on the track.
Yeah,
Very
and
close.
they're so easy to drive.
Yeah.
I mean, that Polaris Pro R is just a turnkey go. There's no question about suspension, brakes, how the power is going to be delivered. It's just such an easy car for a first car buy.
I do think it's interesting though that it's still averaged exactly the same because there were numbers in there that people got to give their opinion,
Yeah,
and they averaged out exactly
it's still
the same.
averaged out.
So
That's the crazy thing is like the factual numbers and then the opinion-based numbers stayed so similar the whole way.
Yeah.
I was surprised on that.
I feel like it always has the right amount of power of what you need at any given moment. And it jumps on real fast, it comes off fast, you're able to stop quickly when you need to, you're able to get on it, it feels stable. It's a
You're talking
great
about the
car.
X3 or the Pro R?
No, the Pro R, not the
Pro
X3. Sorry, I thought you were talking about
X3
the
is
X3.
getting some shade.
Oh no, I will just take that back. That is not the X3.
to go back to to go back to the X3 because I think we kind of skipped over
Somebody's
that.
getting offended. They
No,
don't
I'm not
X3s.
offended. I do want to talk about just the fact that
I'll stick up for the X3 a little bit. I think it's a good value for getting a
Dude,
top power
you can
car.
buy it at 32.
Absolutely.
You can buy one with Smart Shock right now for 32. I saw one at a dealership.
Yep.
And you're
That's
top-
why
you're top
Altimeter
power.
took the tax.
No.
You're right under this guy.
Yeah.
Power.
So I think the key thing that Tom did when he was putting his X3 is he left it in eco. It has linear power at that point. If it's in sport mode, we've talked about this numerous times on the channel, it's either all or nothing. There is no middle bandwidth on that car.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think people's opinions that they gave on the subjective analysis was just because it was an eco. They thought, I don't understand why people are dogging on this car for having all or nothing.
Yeah.
Because in eco, it doesn't. You still have all the power at the top end, but you have a lot more play in that.
It felt like I had plenty of power, but it also reminded me I had to pee so bad. I felt like the whole time I was like, my bladder, I'm hurting.
After the Pro Rs, what do we got?
Then we have a way big gap from an 82 to a 60 on the Turbo R.
The Turbo R wins in that category.
So 5th place.
You're welcome.
The big thing is the drag race. It just didn't do compared to the other cars, it just didn't do well in the drag.
I think we had a guy that just wasn't aggressive on the paddle on the Turbo R.
A little bit. Right. But I don't want to die. We
I
had
don't-
like 5 of us
Dude,
across there.
you got pinched so bad. It was funny. I was watching the video and like everybody took off and you got pinched.
A good Turbo S, I mean, they're going to be used now. That car is still worth buying.
Dude,
I've never driven one before.
Killer bag for the buck.
Yeah, it's that's still worth buying. Yeah.
So
Well, that Turbo S is second behind this right here.
That's right.
On
yeah,
that track.
True.
that's the thing. If you know how to drive, Josh.
I was gonna say.
I'm just a guy.
If you don't know how to drive,
And then obviously last place, which is gonna be the theme throughout this video, is the YXE.
but you know it's a 20 grand car going against 45 grand cars. That
Yeah.
just is what it is. It's not a fair fight. I mean, if we got the KRX, it would have been there. It would have been a great fight there. Also, if we got a Wildcat, my Wildcat buddy, he's got everything aftermarket in it. We're not bringing that to the fight. And then a Honda Talon, I haven't seen one until the day after we did the shootout. And then there was one in Richard's garage at Gaboa Motorsports, and I was like, where the heck was this thing? I mean, you could buy 2 YXZs for less money than a Maverick R.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
so it's
Easily.
it's
Maybe
a tough
3.
deal. I mean,
It's the only car that I found myself laughing in while I was driving on the track. I was having a blast in that little thing.
to me, it was the only
I didn't
car
fit
that
very well in that car.
it was the only car that I felt I actually believed I was actually driving and versus it driving me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I actually felt like I was in control for the first time in my life.
Yeah.
You know?
It might be interesting to see when you start grabbing gears or something in the Maverick R if it takes you into that.
Yeah.
Who knows?
But
The
you,
fun
you
factor.
have the option. It's
think it's
pretty
gonna-
cool.
That thing's gonna be. Once you're comfortable and you're friends with that thing,
Oh, she's
look
gonna be a beast.
out.
Yeah.
Look
Well, and
out.
especially seeing what the potential is for it. Just with a small tune, you can grab 50 horsepower. You're now almost a 300 horse car, like without doing and you're at 91. I mean, Chad's looking at maybe doing a supercharger or turbo to his Pro R to be at 300.
Yeah.
But this, I think, with
It's
a
just a
simple
tune.
tune, I think we're gonna be almost at 300. Which,
Yeah.
and at this thing, 75 miles an hour, we were hitting 200 horsepower on the dyno still. That to me was just like
A
holy
lot
crap.
of power in
That's
the upper
awesome.
end.
Yeah. All right, next category.
Can't say,
So-
but you know. Handling.
Let's go with handling.
handling.
All right, we're getting into handling.
Ooh.
So,
what one?
I was
curious.
shocked on how much everybody loved the Maverick R on handling. Everybody, when they drove it, I was shocked because I thought everybody was going to be like, dude, I couldn't control it, and so I didn't think they would like the handling, right? Just because first time driving the Maverick R, like you need more than 4 miles behind the seat before you really get comfortable in it, right?
Yeah.
So I thought everybody was going to be like, dude, this thing sucked. I didn't even like the way it handled. But everybody rant and raved the Maverick R because that got first, right?
Got first in 87.
What was your thoughts, Kendall?
I thought it was fantastic. I felt like it drove like it was on rails. It felt very good. That's the scariest thing about your track is when you're hitting corners, you have those huge ruts. It felt very solid in there. There was no body roll. It felt very good.
Very flat
Very
level.
flat, yeah.
What did you think?
What I kept saying is the cornering is unfair in this car towards other cars. Like if you could handle the power and the bucking, and the soft dirt, but at high speed and quick turns, like there's nothing like this.
So handling next, Pro R, an 83.5.
Nice. So Josh, what was your thoughts of the handling of the Maverick or the Pro R? What was your 2 cents there?
The Maverick, I want more laps in. I think it's gonna be a rocket. It handled good, but I only got 1 lap in this thing, right?
Yeah.
So I think with more laps, you get comfortable and it's going to be a rocket ship, and it handled great, but I'm not comfortable in it yet.
Yeah, I think the Maverick, I feel like the Pro Rs, just in general, just a Polaris in general. You get in that car and it's just easy, turnkey, go,
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
comfortable within a lap.
Yeah.
But you are not comfortable in the Maverick R within a lap.
No.
But it has the potential to destroy every car, but you have to get comfortable first.
Yeah,
Seems to be the case.
I just ditto what Josh said.
Yeah.
Exactly. Once I learn how to use that power so it's not shifting in a high gear right before I'm trying to go up a hill, you got it down. You're gonna crush it in this car.
And then the next car's on down the list.
So then you have a Pro R at an 83, which I don't think
There's nothing
No,
shocking
shocking
there
about
other
that.
than everybody was stoked on the Pro R,
This
on
is the
how
four-seat,
well.
I'm sorry.
The four-seat.
Yeah, the Pro R4, everyone was shocked. I myself was shocked. Dude, I want a Pro R4 over a Pro R2 now.
Yeah. It's got the big
Everything
old
about
tire
it
on the
was-
top.
Everything about it worked great.
Who
I
noticed
mean,
it's
the
there?
power is amazing. The way it turns and it works and in the whoops.
It's
amazing.
a huge car and it still handled those tight corners. We know this track has a lot of tight corners that are tough.
Yeah.
And it just handled them as if you were still in a 2-seat.
Yeah.
That's where I'm having a hard time with everybody thinking you need a smaller wheelbase, because it's like, dude, that Pro R4 handles a tight track.
You know, if you're gonna choose between one or the other, I'm going Pro R4 all day long.
Yeah,
Absolutely, me
same.
too.
Next was kind of a shocker. So the Pro R 2-seat and the Turbo R actually tied at 80 each.
Well, I
So-
think that 4-seat, it just handles stuff, right? Because you have that longer wheelbase. And so it just handles more. And I think that's where it gets its, handles. It can take stuff. And we're realizing a 4-seat can still do corners pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For sure.
The Turbo R is not going to get there fast, but it's like a turtle. It'll get there.
It'll get there.
At a 76, so in 5th place, you're at the Turbo S.
Nice.
So
And the Turbo S, I was surprised. It felt like it handled a lot. It felt a lot more rigid than I remembered.
Uh-huh.
I was like, oh, wow, this can take a beating. I thought it was going to be soft and give out, and we were going to be bottoming out everywhere. I was pretty surprised in that area.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it has a great wheelbase in a 4-seat.
It's a great wheelbase. There's so much going still for the Turbo S. It just doesn't have all the creature comforts of all the ones above it
Yeah.
on the list.
Yeah.
It's like going back to a regular UTV, and
Yeah.
all these others are Cadillacs.
number 6 is the X3. Got hit a lot with bottoming out and squishiness on that car. So
Which, I think his was a little bit more clapped out than, a fresh one. But still, at the end of the day, you had to replace your springs, your arms. The thing needs a little bit of love.
We've had a few DNFs. Can-Am X3s out there, so
Well, those are 4 seats, though.
There is a
Yeah.
Pro R in there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian. You got to appreciate it. That was a 2-seat.
That was a 2-seat for that.
That was one of our best rolls.
Yeah.
But if you're going off of numbers and percentages,
Yeah.
DNFs are, you've got a lot of power and you got to build that car to make it a track car.
Next on down the line.
it's the YXC.
Yeah. Dude, the car's fun to drive, right? But
Great to drive.
it just does not have the wheelbase. That's all there is to it. If it had a wheelbase that could withstand this rugged Southwest terrain. we have friends with YXZs out here, right? They're doing everything they can with the suspension to...
Some of us have owned YXCs.
Yes.
We've done as much as we can. We have friends that have completely changed the geometry on them. It's just a rough car. And out here in Arizona, it's just not...
it's
the best.
64 inches wide. It's just not as wide. We're up to 77 now or 78. And, now we're at 106 in the in the length of the car. I don't know what that YXZ is, but it's not much.
For a trail car, we've done trail rides with the YXZ before. It's a really fun car to do a trail ride with. It's just, when you're beating the crap out of these cars like what we do, it's just not made for that. I threw out my back. I was out. With the YXZ, I was out for months because I hurt my back riding in it.
Well, and you're trying to compete against this car. You're trying to hang out with your friends in this car. It's just two different animals, right?
But
Now, if you're with a bunch of friends with YXZs, I honestly believe if we all sold all of our cars and bought a YXZ, we'd have just as much fun.
It'd be a lot of fun.
And we wouldn't care if we scraped them up. Like these cars, we're like, oh, I don't want to hurt it.
Well,
But-
that poor car did lose a rear skid plate after the event.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I brought it back with a skid plate dangling. I don't know if it was me though.
Way to go, Josh. Breaking the YXZ.
This is the chassis. So weird scoring here, but the Pro R was number 1 at 82.
And I think you just see all of this stuff right here. My car's a little bit more clapped out, so you're gonna see a lot of dings, but there's just, I mean,
It's pretty beefy.
it's pretty stout. Me and Chad have definitely made some mistakes on our driving and went off some, you know, little drop-offs here and there and
Drop off cliffs.
whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
And we're shocked.
We haven't lost a ball joint. We haven't lost the A-arm.
Why would you say this thing?
No.
I was talking to Richard about the ball joint. I was like, dude, like, I'm not babying my car. Why have I not lost a ball joint? He's like, usually it's because people tightened them too hard.
Oh.
That's why, because there's that little neck in the ball joint, and if you tighten it too hard, that's what actually makes it shear. It's not because you were driving too hard.
Okay.
It was tightened too tight.
Interesting. Good to know.
Next on the list, this is where the shock comes in. The Turbo R actually beat out the Pro R2.
Wow.
So
It's coming back.
I don't know.
And there's a chance.
the chassis score was exactly the same, but I have to believe that maybe the fit and finish,
This is what they were going with.
that's what changed it. They were exactly the same on the chassis.
Oh, okay. It was the
quality.
fit and finish?
The fit and finish is what it was. So I don't know if maybe people just liked the look and the fit and finish of the Turbo R over the Pro R.
Yeah,
good
because it's
looking
the
car.
same thing inside and out, fit and finish with both cars.
Or
So.
somebody was just having a bad day. I don't know, but that's just
Someone was just like, you know, I've given the Pro R2 too much love. It's time for a Turbo R
gotta
love.
share
Turbo
the love,
R,
yeah. Gotta share the love.
it was a little cleaner, you know.
Yeah, the car was clean.
Next on the list is the Maverick R, so number 4.
And I think why this one gets a step above some of the X-rays, just got a little bit more bulkhead to it.
Well, this was
This right here is definitely a lot more stout than the X3.
Number 5 on the list is the Turbo S. So, big thing was the chassis and the fit and finish.
I mean, you felt pretty stout. I felt pretty safe in that car.
yeah,
For sure.
I'm excited to see what this thing does at the dunes.
yeah. We are
So
too.
we do need some wheels for this thing. So reach out to us. I need some wheels. I got paddles. I just need wheels.
All right.
Subscribe to the channel.